Hi, welcome to SPR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. His name is Mike Brenner. This is the SPR Odds Couple Sports Betting Show for Tuesday, August 23rd.
Yep.
Mike Brenner, we got a bunch of segments that are interesting. We're going to start with WNBA. Back with WNBA,
Girls
right?
are back from Rio de Janeiro.
WNBA, of course, if you know what you're doing, if you have the time to research it, can be very profitable, right,
Yes,
Mike
it
Brenner?
can. Yes, it
we
can.
know that. All right, so what we're going to do is, of course, the Olympics just happened. A bunch of players played in the Olympics, not just for the USA, for a bunch of countries. So we're just going to review how the first part of the season went, review how the Olympics went, and some things to look for and think about, right, Mike
I like
Brenner?
that, Pistol Pete. Yeah.
All right, I have some
and
stats.
we would be remiss if we didn't say it was the 6th straight gold medal that the women's basketball team won in Rio de Janeiro. So with that being said, Pistol Pete, take it away.
Okay, let's just review some of the numbers. First of all, things that pops out at me is in the pre-Olympics, overs hit at almost 56%.
Wow.
162 and 128. And anyone who was betting day in and day out definitely got a sense of that. The overs were cashing. That was aided a little bit by overtime games, but definitely overs were just bet them blindly. That's a pretty big sample size, 280 games. Then, as far as ATS is concerned, there were no teams. There's a lot of parity, ATS-wise.
Yeah.
That makes sense. The best teams were some of the worst teams in the league. Connecticut, 14, 8 and 2 ATS, and then Indiana. And then the worst teams were all Chicago, Phoenix, and Dallas, all about 10 and 14, 10 and 15 ATS. So those are the pre-Olympics numbers. Now, moving on to the Olympics, it's interesting because you do see this in hockey sometimes when they take a break and players play over season stuff.
Did you ever play hockey when you were a kid in New York?
All the time.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about, baby.
The players, this does affect them, right? Yeah. They can get injured. Sue Bird got injured, or they can get a little bit worn down. And I have the numbers right here, Mike Brenner. Let's just go through it just so we can start our discussion. Phoenix, 5 players played in the Olympics. Minnesota, 4 players, and Seattle, 3 players. And then on down the line, Indiana had none, Indiana had 2, and Connecticut had 1. So a bunch of these teams had 1 and 2. Phoenix, though, had 5, and they were one of the worst teams ATS before the Olympics. What do you think? Fade Phoenix?
Well, I would think it just makes nothing but sense. And, Sue Bird also, quarterfinals game got banged up pretty good. She came back because she did it just out of sheer, I think, and this girl's not young anymore. She came out of retirement. But I think it's like this, Pete. I think they're going to pay for that. They're going to be tired no matter what. It's just like the Olympic men's team. I'm sitting there watching Kyrie Irving, several guys. They're going to pay for that down the road. So the teams exactly. Now, the teams that didn't send anybody, although they may not be good teams or even playoff bound, look for them to ATS early, literally covering. I think there's going to be some bloated lines. I think we could take advantage of it. And,
Connecticut had the best ATS record pre-Olympics. They only sent 1 player.
Exactly.
They might be undervalued
that's right there.
Well.
That's gold right there, what
you
just said, Pete.
Phoenix, 5 players.
Yes.
All right.
And they're struggling anyway. And they were struggling anyway.
All right, so I think with totals, we'll wait and see. But as of right now, we're looking to maybe fade Phoenix and maybe Minnesota. Maybe look to bet on Connecticut and maybe continue. I don't know, San Antonio. They have
San Antonio.
They had only 1 player. And the Knicks, a well-coached team.
Yes.
Right, with Michael Cooper. And they only sent 1 player. So, think about maybe New York, San Antonio, and Connecticut as teams to look to bet on.
Well, Pete, you know what? I like this angle, and this is something I'm sure our viewers aren't getting anywhere else from anybody, breaking down the games like that and basing it on how many players. So WNBA kicks back to 26th. 27th, there's going to be 5 games on slate, or 26th, there's going to be 5 games on slate. So Pete and I are going to do a video on those games, and if we will, let's make marks on those teams that do have those players because that's where the edge is going to be, and I like it first half, too.
All right.
I like early first half going against Phoenix,
Sounds
Pete.
good. I love WNBA.
I do too, buddy.
Great video segment here, Mike.
I'm looking forward to it, yes.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SPR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Our next segment now in the Odds Couple Sports Betting Show for August 23rd is Week 1 games in the Big 12. Mike Brenner and I have been doing a selection of these now in the Big 12. There's a whole bunch of teams. A lot of them actually have FCS matchups, so they don't have lines. We only have 4 games here for Week 1 in the Big 12, but there's some big ones here.
Oh,
there's
buddy,
some
is there.
Let's
Pete, I'm so fired up. Football is here, baby.
Let's start with the first one. I'm sure you have a lot to say about this one.
Do.
I don't know what I think about it. Notre Dame and Texas.
Yes.
Huge game. Now, Notre Dame was very banged up last year. This year, there's a lot to recommend them, especially on offense. They got 2 quarterbacks who can get it done. Texas, Charlie Strong on the hot seat, even though he doesn't necessarily deserve to be there. Last year, of course, in Week 1 at Notre Dame crushed him, 38-3. The line here is Texas at home plus 3.5. The total is 60. Mike Brenner, you have anything to say about that game?
I do, Pete. And you know what? You said it right. Although Charlie Strong might not deserve to be on the hot seat, sometimes there's coaches in the wrong program. And we talked about this before. I think this just isn't the type of program for him. And again, I think that. I think coaching's going to win this game. I don't think there's anything going to stop Notre Dame from going in there and beating this team by more than 3.5. I think the fact that Charlie Strong knows that he's on the hot seat, his team knows he's on the hot seat, all right, you got players that know it. That puts pressure on everybody involved, and it takes away the focus of putting together a proper game plan. I'm telling you, I like the fact Brian Kelly will have his team ready to go. He's got 2 quarterbacks, like you said, Pete, have nothing but experience, ready to get it done and look for that running game to take off. And I'm telling you right now, that defense is going to be better than people think. Notre Dame, that's going to be
all right. I can't say disagree with that. How deep did you look into Texas? Because I have a few real questions. Maybe our educated viewers. Okay, first of all, Charlie Strong's team's usually good on defense, great on defense.
Of course, that's where he's built his whole name in Florida years ago. It was a mess.
Last year was a mess.
And then I got to tell you why. I got to interrupt you. Here's what happened. They had some major issues the end of the season before last and all of last season with the offensive coordinator, the wrong play call, and you had a lot of pointing fingers. So what Charlie Strong did was took his eyes off the defense, which is where he specializes, Pete. He put responsibilities in the hands of another defensive coordinator and tried to look over his shoulder at the same time. You know what that causes? Mistrust between everybody. I'm telling you right now, lack of confidence. That's why they lost those games.
Maybe it'll be better this year then. What do you think?
I don't think so, Pete. I think this is a program that's going to have a new coach next year. And again, I don't think it's Charlie Strong's fault.
It's not necessarily his
fault.
fault.
He might just have to move on. But Notre Dame is too well focused, too well coached, and they come back year in and year out. They don't have this type of drama. All right, I like it. I think this is solid. And I'm telling you, Texas is going to have a lot of spots this year where you can cash a ticket.
You're probably right. He's probably better off at a program where it's like lower profile, where you can build a strong defense.
That's right.
You know, recruit guys. Yeah,
absolutely.
But then on the
personally,
offense,
thought he should have stayed in the SEC.
Yeah,
I really did.
And then on the offense, they're starting a new air raid offense, but they don't really have the quarterbacks who are built for that. How do you think the offense is going to be? Is it going to be effective or not so much?
It could be, but it's going to take time. They got some big spots to fill in the trenches up front, and they have some injuries already, as I've read up on. So this team is already dealing with some injuries, some little nicks and bruises early on. But you know what? That spells trouble week 1. Notre Dame quietly under the radar. There's nothing but just confidence going on right now.
All right, so if we think that their offense will be somewhat effective, maybe the over 60, what do you think about that?
I don't see Texas putting up a bunch of points, Pete. I don't.
All right, so your pick is...
But I may be wrong, because you know what? Your nickname is Totals Loshak.
I'm definitely leaning over 60 here. As far as the side's concerned, I guess I got to lean Notre Dame at minus 3.5.
Yeah,
you're liking that
on a lean, I like that.
All right, we've broken that down. Now we got 3 other games. Kansas State at Stanford, huge game. Oklahoma at Houston. Of course, Houston is the class of a Power 5 this year. Last year they had a great season. Got a little bit lucky with turnovers. Will Ward be able to last the whole season? Not necessarily sure, but he'll definitely be healthy for this game. They're a big underdog to Oklahoma, though, and Oklahoma's not necessarily a team I want to start out fading. And then we have Missouri.
Well, we're going to just quit dancing around the bush right here and jump to this K-State Stanford game, because you and I broke this down earlier, and guess what? Bill Snyder's getting older.
Yes.
Okay? This team is a program on the decline. I really feel that. Now, years past, they had that. They played upset role. They came in when they were favorites and would lose games, but came in when they were supposed to get blown out and win games. I'm telling you right now, Stanford's going to come in and kick the dog shit out of that team.
Yeah. I mean, Stanford has some issues, too, though.
I know
Stanford
they do.
Has some questions, but
They do, but you know what? He's getting old,
Yeah.
Snyder. How much does he really have left in the tank for coaching? All right, you look at the other side of the ball. That guy is just young, up and coming, one of the best coaches in football. I think they'll plug holes sooner. And my advantage is Stanford on the first half, but we'll get to that down the road.
My only concern for Stanford, not necessarily in this game, is that the offensive line is a big strength. And they're rebuilding a lot in the offensive line. The last time they were in this position was 2014, and that was their down year.
Yes, I know.
So I'm leaning under in this one, even though it's a low total 50. That's going to be my official lean. And then we got Oklahoma, Houston. You have anything about that one?
That could be an air raid. That could be an absolute, and I think we're really going to find out what kind of team Bob Stoops has, because you and I talked about this, Pete. Years past, when Oklahoma had a ton of expectations, guess what? They underachieved.
Right.
All right. Years that they weren't expected to do much, they overachieved, beat some big quality key teams at elite moments. So, you know what? This is one I'm going to have to sit back and watch, because I'm not. And Houston, you know what? There's a lot of returning starters coming back. This is a team could be dangerous.
Underrated on defense.
Underrated on defense.
I would lean Houston there at
I would too
10,
with 10.
Sure.
I saw it even 10.5.
Yeah,
so
if you get 10.5. And then I think I have a big balls totals play here.
Missouri
and West Virginia. I'm going to take take over 50.5. The reason it's big balls, of course, is because last year Missouri was great on defense, but it didn't really matter because they were absolutely anemic on offense.
Oh my God, were they
which
ever?
Which explains why this is a low total. But
what is that total again?
50.5.
Holy
now we know that Dana
cow.
Holgorsen a lot of times loves to have a big passing offense, and he's got a quarterback who's in the second year. Quarterbacks a lot of times make great big strides under Holgorsen, and he's got a deep receiver, a talented complement of receivers to go with them. So I'm liking West Virginia here, at least offensively. And then Missouri, they might take a step up. You know, they've got this quarterback, Drew Lock, who was supposed to be a star. He was far from that last year, but he may improve here. They have, a lot more experience on offense, if not necessarily talent. So adding it all together, it's a relatively low total, and I'll take 50.5 over Missouri, West Virginia. Could lose, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk you off the ledge, and if that's the big balls play, Pistol Pete, I kind of like, or the big balls lean.
Yeah.
I like West Virginia at home. They're at home, and that's a tough place to go play. It is a tough place to play, and I would be leaning probably something on a first half with West Virginia, because I think they're going to have enough established early, and Missouri's going to have to get comfortable in that stadium, and it ain't going to happen in the first 2 quarters, baby.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Let's give our one top lean of these 4 Big 12 games. You go first, Mike.
Okay, Notre Dame, buddy. Minus the 3 or 3.5.
Minus 3 or 3.5.
Absolutely.
And I will take, I guess I will take Missouri, West Virginia over 50.5. Hopefully,
you got to give me a high five because football's here. But guess what? The most important weapon is Sportsbook Review Guide. You guys got to know where you're playing, and I'm not exaggerating it. It's time to open up 2 and 3 accounts because you're going to get benefits from the bonuses, all right? Take advantage of it. Trust me, I fought that for years. I did, until I found out just how much I could benefit from doing that. So take the time, take 10 minutes, sign up through these books at SBR, and I'm telling you right now, you'll save yourself some money, and you'll start beating that bookie's ass. College football's here.
Nice pitch.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at SBRodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.
Our next segment in the Odds Couple sports betting show for August 23rd is an interesting one. We're going to take an in-depth look at Steven Strasburg. Now, we decided to do this video yesterday before he went on the DL.
And guess what the name of it was? Breaking down Strasburg. And then what happens? He goes on the DL.
Yeah, and the reason why we were going to do it is because in so many of our videos we've been discussing him. So I thought,
was it mental? Was it physical?
Yeah, why don't we just do an in-depth segment on him, which I thought we were going to have more data from last night, but we don't.
Yeah.
So now he's on the DL. He's on the DL, but you can put a little bit too fine. They might be giving him rest. I'm not. He might. Who knows how much he really is hurt? How much of it is just resting him up? But I did go into I did look into what his troubles were. Of course, he went on the DL earlier this year, and he came back. Now,
and let's not forget the point. This is a pitcher that was 15-1, was absolutely dominating, kicking ass, taking names. His last outing lasted 1.2 innings. He got absolutely shellacked. 9 hits, 9 earned runs, 3 base on balls. And Pete, we've talked about it before. This is a product of a high school kid that's arm was probably wore out very early because he had scouts looking at him in junior high school. So take it away.
No, I mean he's just the kind of pitcher who is going to dominate for like half a year and then have injuries.
Yeah.
You see it all.
Exactly. Do they shut him down? Remember they shut him down a couple years ago.
Like
or was it last year?
Francisco Liriano, all these kinds of pitchers who are like that. But so the question is, when he comes back, what do we expect from him? The problem with Strasburg is that he's always overvalued, so it's hard to find value with him. There's some indications that he'll be okay when he comes back. First of all, just in general, he didn't really have a decline in velocity, which if you're injured, that's a telltale sign.
Exactly.
So if he doesn't have a decline in velocity, that indicates that it's either mental, mechanical, or maybe some kind of soreness that where his location's off, but not necessarily a serious injury. And we've kind of located, I think we've kind of located here what the real issue for him was, and it was with his changeup. He's got a lot of pitches, right? He's got a slider, a changeup, and that's really part of why he's so great. And his changeup, he was getting, first of all, he was using it less. He was getting worse results with it, and there was a slight drop in velocity and movement was changing. It was all about his changeup, basically.
And you know what happens when something like that happens? It gets mental in your head, and then when that happens, you're forcing it, and then he's probably trying to tweak, maybe trying to tweak his style, his motion, and he could have hurt himself.
Because a changeup is much more of a field pitch than, for example, a slider is. A slider is just basically it puts a lot of wear and tear on your arm, and if your arm goes, your slider goes. That's not the case with him.
No.
Slider was not the problem pitch with Strasburg. It was changeup. He was getting his strikeouts. He got unlucky with batting average on balls in play. His walks were a little bit up, but his strikeouts were okay. And I mean,
this is a guy with a 3.17 career ERA with a 1.09 WHIP, so that's very respectable. Pete, also, there's one thing, and and you know how I love that mental edge. I like getting into the psycho and the egos of these guys, getting inside of their minds. All right, I did some deep research. You know what one of this guy's biggest problems is? His own stubbornness. The coach, he's had two of his past pitching coaches said he will not tell them the truth when he's hurting, and a lot of times he is not teachable. They say he shuts down, and he'll look at him and say, yeah, well, I'll work on it, but he absolutely does the opposite thing, and I promise you, I read this. He is very stubborn. He's hard to work with, but when he gets in that zone, they said it's better to let him go. But right now, question marks, man.
There are question marks. I think that as far as his injury, as his health is concerned, I think he's going to be okay again because his velocity was not down. His strikeout weight was up. His walk rate was okay, and he got a little bit lucky. And a little bit unlucky. It was just his ground ball rate went down, and that was mostly because of his changeup. So I think when he comes back, at least for the first few starts, he's going to be good. That's my final.
And you know what? He definitely would be. He would be okay if one thing could happen. If we could have another Mel Stoudemire out of nowhere, the old pitching coach from the Yankees, jump in and take this situation over. Because guess what? Clemens and back in the day, who was the other Pettit? Andy Pettit. They used to give him fits. He said, as far as making adjustments, and then they finally jumped on board, and they both all-star, just Hall of Fame careers. So Strasburg, you got to find somebody to help you out. But great talent though, Pistol Pete.
My call on it is that he will be good. The problem with betting though is that he's always overvalued. When he comes back, people are going to assume he's going to be 100. So it might not be value, but I'm anticipating him at least not to be an automatic fade when he comes back.
That's right. And tune in, guys, because we will let you know when it is, because we're both on fire. We are producing in August, and you know what helps us do that? Line shopping. Tell them about it, Pistol Pete.
SBR odds. If you want a line shop, which you really should be doing if you're doing this seriously, if you're not recreationally, then who cares? But if you're trying to make money, line shopping is essential. You got to have a bunch of different books, and SBR Odds is a free line shopping service, customizable. It's great. SBRodds.com.
Absolutely, it's a silent tool.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Odds Couple Sports Betting Show. What we're doing right now is taking a look at the two Thursday games in the NFL Week 3 preseason, the dress rehearsal. Two interesting games. We'll start with Atlanta, Miami. Now, this is one of your best calls of the preseason on Atlanta in Week 1. You call for the outright wins. They've got two solid wins and covers in the first 2 weeks. Miami, they pounded the Giants in Week 1, then got pounded by Dallas in Week 2. But Tannehill actually played kind of well, right? After him, they've got Dysert, Doty, and Moore.
Who? Like I said, who?
And then for Atlanta, presumably Matt Ryan will get a bunch of snaps. And then behind him, Matt Sims has actually looked pretty good this preseason. So I don't know. The question is Miami going to bounce back defensively? How good will Matt Ryan be? Do you like him as an underdog here again? What do you think?
I absolutely do, Pete. I really do. And again, I said it, and hey, call it like it is. Dan Quinn, third year. This defense is solid. To get a solid defense, he knows you've got to have guys behind him, all right? This is becoming a deep defense, and I promise you, this is becoming not only a deep defense. When your defense starts getting dominative, all right, then your offense starts picking up that mojo. They get that confidence back, and it's the same confidence Matt Ryan had back in the day when he was the gunslinger. I'm telling you, Pete, this team wants to prove that they are real. They're not going out here just to say, oh, we already won 2, let's test this guy. It's dress rehearsal week.
You're going to send them all out in this week?
For a bit. I think they're going to. I think he's going to throw them out there for a minute. And you know what? I love Miami. I love Adam Gass. But guess what? That's a project in making. That if you look up the word, all right, rebuild in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of Adam Gass and his Miami Dolphins. And that takes time, Pete. Guess what? This, I think, is a no-brainer. I don't want the 2.5 because I don't need the 2.5.
I'll tell you what. This also, and we mentioned this on Monday, and I swear to God, I'm not lying. I made 2 teaser bets.
You don't lie anyway.
No, I made 2 teaser bets this preseason. Both of them. 3 teams, both of them cashed.
Bam!
Both of them cashed.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
This might be another great teaser side here, Atlanta, in case things get a little bit shaky in the second half. You're getting a cushion of 8.5 or 9 points.
Absolutely, I like that, Pete. God, I can't wait.
You like Atlanta?
I do. I like what's happening. I'm telling you right now, that team's going to be dangerous.
Sounds good, Mike.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.
And now we're going to take a look at the Friday night preseason Week 3 game, Cleveland, Tampa Bay. This is an interesting one. Cleveland obviously has not done well in the preseason, but RG3 has done well. Right? RG3 has played well. Now, does that mean he's going to play well in the regular season? I don't know, but I think it means he's probably going to play well for the rest of the preseason. And then on the other side, We have Tampa Bay, who's coming off of a win against the Jags, but Jameis Winston did not play well. And so the question is, what do we get here? I'll tell you what I'm thinking, Mike Brenner. I'm thinking Cleveland might be the play here, getting 4 points, 3.5 or 4, and maybe a shot with the over. I just think Cleveland, I think RG3 is going to continue to play well. The Corey Coleman's supposed to be, he's the guy from Baylor. He's recovering from a hamstring injury. He's going to be back and playing. And then Terrell Pryor has looked good at receiver. Ooh. I think this is the Browns' time. +4. What do you think?
Well, Pete, this is a 10-foot pole for me, and you touched on some facts that is the reason why for me it's a 10-foot pole. RG3 is definitely, and you know what, had the guy not had the success he had when Shanahan was coaching him in Washington, when he took him to the playoffs and all that, had he not had that success, I would think maybe this was a preseason fluke. Can he continue through the year? I don't know. We got to find out what's in the trenches, who's protecting him, where his mind's at. I know he's comfortable right now, but here's the thing. I think the Browns are going to maybe take a step back in this game because they don't want to jeopardize him going down because I'm telling you behind that. That's what I think. But now, on the other flip side of that coin, I smiled when you said, and Winston didn't look good because I called this a couple years ago. I think this guy's going to turn out to be one of the biggest flukes in football. I'm not a fan of his whatsoever. And you know what? I know we're talking sports betting, but the mental edge, this kid's cashing tickets fade him. I'm telling you, he is overvalued. He's an underachiever, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a good football team.
All right. So it sounds like everything you said is basically what I agree with, but you just think that the Cleveland's going to pull it back because RG3 played well in the first game.
Or you might have a second stringer saying, because if I'm correct, they got a second and third string battle going on. So that, I think if anything, that bodes well in Cleveland's favor.
But then you have McCown against Glennon. I'd take McCown over Glennon for
sure. Absolutely. And you know what? You know what, Pete? I wouldn't talk you off the ledge on that. And on a lean, I would say Cleveland +4 too, because you know what? They're feeling good in Cleveland again. They got all that drama. It's gone. Petton's gone. You know, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Foot. Hey, where are you at, Johnny? I haven't seen you in a while. You haven't been on TMZ either lately. But anyway, Pete, on a lean, I would say Browns +4. But guess what? When the regular season starts, when the shit gets real, Cleveland Browns are going to cash some tickets about the 7th, 8th, 9th week in the season. I'm telling you, look for that team to come together, baby. And Terrell Pryor is no joke, and he is not a fluke.
Absolutely. All right. So you're going to officially pass on this one.
I'm going to pass, but on a lean, I'm not going to talk you off the ledge, but I'm not going to,
actually, you know what?
You're going to do an official. Damn, I like it.
I'll make it official. But Cleveland +4. I like RG3 over Winston. I like McCown over Glennon. And I like the guys who are coming back.
Out there trying to get the big jump on me before regular
4
season.
Points. Although, you know what I would do? I would be more inclined to put him on a teaser and take him at 9.5
or I like
or
that.
10.
You, speaking of teasers, you've had 2 this preseason. You nailed them both, Pistol Pete.
I'm probably going to be looking to use Cleveland on teasers for sure.
All right. Buddy, I'm ready. It's football time.
So we're giving you picks every day, and you're probably making your own as well. Be sure to participate in SBR's weekly Twitter Bankroll Challenge. Just post your picks on Twitter with @SBRSportsPicks and the hashtag BetSBR before 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day, Monday through Friday. We'll be betting your picks, and if the bankroll is positive at the end of the week, you could win the profits. Picks must be of events taking place that day and available in at least one of the major sportsbooks shown in our Best Sportsbooks page.